Today's guest is Matt Drinkhahn, who is the host of the Eternal Optimist Podcast, father of three daughters, and husband to an amazing wife. He's generated 130 million in career sales and coaches high performance to ask better questions and level up their communication with themselves and their people. And he's here today to help share his positive message and impact to our listeners. So, Matt, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Trasco, I'm doing great, brother. I am so excited to be here today. I don't know where this ride is going to take us, and that is part of the thrill. That's part of it's part of the message of my show is to just wherever might be a challenge, whatever might be out there, just lean into it with curiosity and see what happens. And I'm looking forward to doing whatever we're gonna do today, my friend. So I am glad to be here.
Love it. Love it. And as I told you off air, I have no idea where this is going to go either. So it'll either be a disaster or it'll be great. I don't think there's going to be a middle ground, but that's
Yes,
where we're going to take it. So
it
I'm
will be
okay
a
with that.
symphony of strengths. It will be a masterpiece of a disaster if it is. But it's like Bob Ross, and those of your listeners who might watch this later, if you haven't, I always have a Bob Ross over here with me. A, to throw at my kids if they ever get rambunctious during a call. But B, Bob Ross always reminds us that there's no mistakes, there's no accidents. It's all just happy little accidents,
Happy
happy
little
little
trees, right?
opportunities. Yeah, happy little trees,
Yeah.
opportunities to keep learning and growing. So I'm truly thrilled to be here and appreciate you, my friend.
I love it. Well, you also get the prize for the first person to have a Bob Ross doll right within this. So, there you go. Again, can't give you a real prize, but you get the praise. So that is okay. But yeah, so in that case, why don't you just contextualize everything for us and let us know, like, how did you get to doing what you're doing? What are you all about? Break that down for us.
Great. So, in the 60-second timeline of life, to contextualize, I grew up in a military family. My dad was the military. My mom was an English teacher. They got married, had me. We moved 17 times in 21 years, all over the United States. I went to four different high schools. What happened on Forrest Gump actually happened to me on the bus, where they said seats taken. That happened to me a couple of times. So that was challenging. So I grew up being kind of a loner, but also a nerd and a sportsman, right? So all those things happen. I'm 6'7", by the way, if anyone can't tell because I'm seated. So I grew up bigger at one point than the rest. And I was still the scholar and the athlete. So did all those things. I was pushed by my dad to be an overachiever, and we did that. And with mom to be the empathetic, caring, and listening, walk in the room and talk to everybody. So we do that. I've struggled with impatience over time. I've struggled with when is enough at times. How do you turn off this insatiable desire to achieve and accomplish at the expense of the time spent with family, right? I've moved since I got out of school at the age of 21. I've moved 19 times since I left the parents' nest. And that puts me right here in Charlotte, North Carolina at this moment, where I've been married for the last 9 years and a week to my lovely bride, Julie, who's way out of my league. I got lucky. And I've got three amazing, healthy daughters. It's somewhere in there's a business career that's, it's been in front of people, it's been in sales, been in management, leadership, buying, selling, all different types of experience there. And where we are right now in business is I'm an executive business coach with Pro Advisor Coach, where I teach leaders how to ask better questions and then integrate them into what they do. So those are the things that I think I think tee us up pretty decently. I'm a scratch golfer, and everything that you might see in the background or all of this chaos, it's organized chaos, believe me. Everything around here all has an emotional reason for why it's in my office and why it's in my life and my world. So I take careful time and consideration to curate the things that I allow in, and just the office in itself is one of those things. So I think that's where we could start.
The whole time I was just thinking, so like, when's the movie of your life going to be coming out? Like, when's your, Forrest Gump movie going to be out so we can see it play out? Because I'm like, even just a 60-second Coles Notes version of that
Uh,
sounds very exciting. So that's what's popping into my head.
Okay, well, I got an answer for that as well. The movie to the life, the target for that. My father, to kind of a quick story, my father passed away when he was 59 at on Memorial Day, 2005. I was 28 at the time, so I remember that day. It was the worst day, and also a day that I've taken some lessons from. And I set a goal that at one point, the movie of my life, I'd like to create that and broadcast that when I'm 60. So I have a goal to live longer than my father. It may sound okay, that's weird. Well, I put a lot of interesting checkpoints in the future to look forward to so that there is something inspiring, driving. And that's one of them, to make a movie and have it when I'm 60.
Love it. So clearly, I picked up on something that was very real and is in the works in some ways. So I love it. I think that that is such a cool thing to aim for, and like a cool milestone to hit. Like it's a non-typical one, but it absolutely makes sense in this context.
There used to be a target one day. I want to win the Masters in the US Open in golf. And I realized that the expectation and the reality of the practice I was doing and the skill level I was at, they didn't meet the expectations. So there was an incongruency there. I feel that living, just staying alive and surviving somehow, I can't control everything out there, but from what I can control, if I can make it to 60 and my children will be out of high school by that time, I will have hopefully successfully raised them. Success might mean that my kids know that they're loved and that they have an internal dialogue that says, I can do it. Now, if I could raise them to that age, and I'll be about 60 at that time, then I feel that we'll be successful. It will be successful to get them to that. Because my dad gave me that. He made it till I was 28 and far past 18 when I got out of school. So I'm grateful for that, and that's something to look forward to. And by the way, sometimes you're going to ask a question, and I'm going to ask and answer a different question way down there. So I appreciate your patience with me and your listeners as I go off on a tangent. Thank you.
All good. Happens all the time. So I understand I understand the sentiment. Yeah. So then let's just dive right into it. So you have this vast life experience. You have business results that obviously speak for themselves. So I like just from the bio. So what problems, like what are the top problems that you are facing right now?
Couple, a couple, and I would say opportunity rather than problem. Frame it any way you want. It's an obstacle. It's an opportunity. It's a problem. It's right here in the middle. And how might I overcome that so that I can achieve or be or live this life that I dream of? Well, first, I'd say that one opportunity, Drasco, is that I have difficulty turning off the drive to achieve whatever's next. It's like we get to a certain level or plateau, you would call it. Let's say it's in business, for instance. You get to a place where you start off with trying to get any client you can because you need to pay the bills and you need to survive to start your business. And then once you're at that place, next it might be, I want to get some bigger clients, the right client. And then you get that. And now I want to get every client to be the right client. And you get that. And then I want to go after bigger things. And you get that. And all along the way, there are all these opportunities coming at you from different angles, things you never would have thought possible. But because you're starting to get better at what you do or achieve or develop a reputation, more people want a piece of that. And somewhere in that path, learning to say no with empathy to people that want to ask for something, that's been a challenge, still is a challenge. And then this place of there's this next level we can get to. Man, that looks exciting. I want to go get that. Sometimes I'll look at that level, Drasco, at the expense of what's in front of me right now in the present, especially with my relationships. I'm normally really, really good at keeping my eyes on my kids and my wife. The other relationships, like the friends of mine that came to my wedding, I don't keep in touch with them as much. I have not made space for it. And what the challenge that I feel is that there's this want to connect with all the friends that I've had, and I'm letting them down. And at the same time, there's this drive where I want to keep achieving more and more and more. And it's when is it enough? So these are the things that when you say, what are the problems? I frame, what are the opportunities right now? Those are a couple things that come up in this moment.
Got it. Well, thank you for articulating them so well, because it's very clear with regards to like what this is. So I know you spent a lot of time diving into this, especially being a coach yourself. Like I know you're gonna, twist and turn it and look at it all kinds of ways. So like I get that. So I guess to just zoom out a little bit. So like you're aware of all of these things, you understand the interplay of them, you understand the patterns. Why are they an actual problem? Like why is it a problem to want more?
Yeah, I could go through it as a coach. I'm attempting to be coached at the moment because I really want to solve and I really want to work through this. And I've worked
Well, I would
through
just
some of
invite you
this
to
with
just
my coach.
surrender and not put your
Yeah.
coach hat on and just like
Yep.
look internally as like me as Matt. Like, well, why is it a problem that I want more?
It might be a problem that I want more because in our background growing up, we didn't have much. We had love, we had each other. We didn't have status or wealth. We had each other. And I feel that there's a problem there. There's an opportunity here because I want to ensure that the things that we didn't have before, I want to ensure that we don't lose the things that we've got now at this point. And if I continue to go in this path of achieving or acquiring, winning, any of these phrases, these frames, then my strong offense will ensure that the defense I have to not be poor again or to not be without again. I feel that that might be part of it.
Okay. So just to make sure that I've heard you correctly, I didn't have a lot growing up. One of the things we did definitely have was love.
Mhm.
Now, having grown up from that, I feel like I've made up for a lot of the things that I was lacking growing up, but I'm risking losing the one thing I did have growing up.
That's a very good summary reflection. Yes, I
Okay.
feel you captured it very well.
So what's landing from that reflection?
A story. I'm thinking right now of a fifth grade. I'm sitting there in math class. Miss Colbert's the teacher, and there's a girl sitting behind me. Name was Jenny. She had on this pair of jeans. They had this little triangle, the guess, on the back of them. And it was not because I was looking at her butt. It was because I was staring at these jeans. They were super cool. They had this logo on it, and they were cool. What did I have on? Everything that I had on. It was all from the thrift shops, all secondhand. It was all that. And they got the attention because of they had the cool stuff. They had this image, and my image was something at that time physically that may have been less than to me. It may not have been something I was proud of or something that I could point to and say was I wearing the cool clothes. Uh, that's the story that comes up when you ask. I don't even know if that was what you were asking for. That was what came up when you asked.
Yeah, so I think it adds like flavor to what you shared earlier in that like it's a very visceral growing up experience that explains a lot of your drive right now, right? Like everybody's got these brand name clothes. I'm from the thrift shop. There's a big lack. This is not going to be the end of my story. That's the driving force for a lot of the achievement that you have acquired and continue to acquire. And then it's
Yes.
just the conflict between continuing that versus, well, okay, but I don't want to miss out on the thing that really was great growing up, which was the love. And I think all of that is great to kind of connect the dots on how your story, let's just say, it is developed into a pattern that you are experiencing right now that isn't really working for you. I think the irony of it is it doesn't really answer the original question that got it, which is like, well, why is this a problem for you?
Hmm. Why it's a problem for me is I feel right now, I mean, the funny thing is, everything I'm wearing right now, it's not even name brand. It's not what I just described. I don't care about the logos or labels anymore. There was a period where I bought all the expensive stuff and did all that and had the cars. I don't even do that anymore. So it's not that need for the status. I've determined that it goes a little bit deeper. And I feel that where I'm at right now in life, there are so many opportunities that it could have a massive impact. I could see that there's so many negative things out there in the world right now. The news just permeates everything with negativity all the time. I feel that because of this abundance of opportunities, we can achieve any of those platforms, any of those things that are up there right now, Drasco, and it will have a major positive impact on others around us. And what's challenging for me is I see all these different ways that we might go, and staying on this one is challenging because there are others that I'm letting go of that I know would save someone or I believe would help someone. So when I say the need to accomplish or continue to grow or continue to make forward progress or win, which avenue do I go and win in? Oh, and if I'm going to win at something or if I'm going to make progress in something at the expense of something else, how do I make sure that the expense of something else isn't my kids, my spouse, time with them, seeing them grow up? These are the things that come out when you ask. If you need to ask the same question again and get me really honed in, feel free. Uh,
Well, do you think
that's what
I
came
do need
out.
to ask the same question again? Like, do you think it makes sense for me to ask the same question again?
Let's try it. Let's see.
Okay. So, right, we started this conversation, but you describing there's this big need for achievement and a lot of evidence for it. We understand the pattern of how you got there. It's a values conflict between how you want to spend your time and the relationships you have in your life, right? And fundamentally, as a coach, like I can just even by how you're answering your self-awareness, I know you can navigate a values conflict, right? So when I ask you, how is that a problem? Your brain goes towards a story that just illuminates more details of that story. Then I ask it a second time, and it gives me this beautifully articulated story about opportunities and opportunity cost. And like, that's all good and great, right? It's just optimizing for the choice of what you want. But it keeps skirting around the central question of like, why is this a problem for you specifically? To the degree that even your brain picked up on it, was like, am I really answering the question? So again, I bring it back to you. Why do you think it's a problem?
Hmm. Why is this a problem for me specifically? You've asked it. This is the third time you've asked it. I've given you what may be skirting or a different answer each time, and that might lead to a reflection. Now, why is it a problem for me? Is I don't know how it's a problem. I don't know if it's a problem. Things appear on the surface to be going really well. Under the surface, I don't feel that there's a conflict with my kids or my wife. about these things. Uh, when you ask me and coach me on problems, I'm attempting to put through that lens problem or opportunity when kind of also running in the background, Drasco. I feel grateful and curious to dive into the conversation, and maybe I've gone too far or different in the way I think now, that because of all the hard stuff we've been through, it's hard for me to look at some of these things, these internal things, as real problems. Maybe that's the problem, is that my lens has shifted so much that I don't know if it is a problem. I'm genuinely excited to be here. And when the opportunity came to be on your show, this show specifically, I jumped at it because I'm hoping for some type of cathartic breakthrough of, I don't know what the problem is, if there even is a problem.
Beautiful.
And
So I actually think that's the most real answer so far. And ironically, it's I don't know.
mhm,
Okay. And here's my reflection as to why. There is a lot of great things that are happening in your life. There is a lot of evidence of achievement. There's a lot of evidence of, love and good relationships and good people around you, like all good things, right? So your brain is in this constant cognitive dissonance of this should all be good, but for some reason I am not experiencing it as good. That's what I pick up as the subtext from the outside looking in. So does that land for you or not?
my brain has a cognitive dissonance that's saying that it's good, and you're picking up something that it might not be good. Does that land? Well, my first response is it doesn't land, because I tend to feel that things are good. If we go a little bit deeper, I don't know. And I think it comes right back. I don't know.
Okay.
Um,
So why don't we try it this way? Forget
okay.
about what your brain thinks about this. When you look at any part of the conversation so far, anything that came up, this whole sense of like, why can I not articulate and answer a simple question of like, what's the problem? Or I don't know what the problem is. What's the internal feeling?
A problem would say that there's something wrong, and I don't feel anything's really wrong at the moment.
So that's not really an internal feeling. That's your description of the question. What do you feel right now?
Feel, and I'm looking for something that's what I might label as pain or
I mean, you could,
challenge.
whatever's present. Like if I feel neutral right now is present, by all means share that. This is what's here is what's here. I don't have a judgment either way.
I think the first thing that came to mind or first thing that came that I felt when you asked that is just gratitude that you're willing to engage me in this conversation. And I feel like I'm being difficult, not intentionally. I I want to understand deeper. And what I'm starting to feel as we talk about it is I'm feeling pain and a little bit of regret and a little bit of shame for when I used to yell at my daughter when she was younger. And that has been the majority of the inner work that I've done to work on that temperance over the past 5 years. That was a problem.
Got
And
it.
I came to realize it was a problem.
And right now, so that memory popped into your head, shame, regret, temperance. Okay. What connection does that have to the current conversation?
And feeling, you ask how I'm feeling. And I went inside and felt I felt in a really good place at the moment. And as I seek deeper, when have I felt a problem or something that I was incongruent, that was what came up. I felt incongruent in how I had wronged my daughter, and I wanted to solve that. I wanted to change that feeling because I wanted her to feel better, and I wasn't making her feel good. So that's how I connected uh,
Okay.
from now to how I felt then.
And what's the current incongruency that you feel?
I feel I could be a better son right now. I feel that's a problem now because my mom lives farther away and I don't see her as much. That's incongruent. That's that's a problem, an opportunity. Yeah, that's the immediate thing that came up.
Okay. And firstly, I just want to acknowledge you for allowing yourself to go into such deep and tender areas because I know it's not easy, especially even given the context that you've given us at the beginning. Okay. And to just celebrate you for really being ready to explore what's actually present here and that you're ready to find the clarity of like what is this disconnect, right? And I think incongruency is a beautiful word to describe that sense of disorientation of like, why can't I seem to answer very simple questions, but they're not actually simple questions. So, number one, just wanted to acknowledge you for all of that and for allowing us to witness you in that space. And number two, well, I guess number two, are you okay to explore deeper down this road?
Sure am. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Let's go where we go. Mm-hmm.
perfect. And by all means, if at any point you're like, you know what, this is my edge. You are the captain of this ship. I'm just poking and prodding with regards to where we could look next. So you're in charge as far as that piece is concerned.
Appreciate that.
So you have the veto card at any point. Um, so if you're okay to dive deeper into that, so incongruency, okay, which is very reflective of the original story between this tug and push and pull between achievement and love or relationships. Okay. Now the feeling, we're getting close to the root incongruency. Deeper behind that, there's a sentiment of I can be a better son. So what does that really mean from you, like from your words and from you?
A better son to me means more present, more to offer. I know my mother's love language is quality time. I know that her love language is the words of affirmation. And when we speak, she gets half of that, the words of affirmation, but we don't get that face to face quality time. And that is a challenge. That's a disconnect inside. It hurts when I think about it and start talking about it. So I feel that now. Um, I would say if there's a way to be, now and air quotes here, if there's a way to be good at compartmentalizing that and putting that on the shelf day to day, I figured out how to shut that down and out to focus on what's currently present in the moment. But when you give me permission to open up that closet and bring it out, I feel it and it hurts because I mean it's the Cat Stevens song, The Cat's in the Cradle. It's the one song that can get me to cry on a dime anytime because that is what I saw growing up is work all day, whatever's left over, the family gets, and that's a fear. that's a place that I open myself up to exposure, or open it up to, I could care so much and put so much into this business and into, organization, structure, goals, achievement, all that. And
Perfect. So I'm just going to cut you off right there, not because I'm trying to discount what it is that you're saying, for two reasons. Number one, because I know we have a hard stop. So I want to make sure we get to something that is the core here. And two, because you are so like cognitively gifted, I can see your brain always making like tangent connections, right? Which is also good defense to move away from painful things. So it just, for those two reasons, I'm just going to interrupt you. Um, the other part that I want to reflect back is in that sentiment, right? So we went from this original story to incongruency, and then what does it mean to be a better son? The words that stuck out for me: more present, more to offer. If you rewind back, the commonality amongst your push pull is more opportunities, more things to say yes to, bigger clients, more money, more success. While simultaneously, I need more presence, more of myself to offer, more love, more. The only way that I ever can achieve something is through more. So, what lands for you there?
I kind of want to make a self-deprecating joke. I always have it on. I am more on. The more button is always on. Uh, and that is an unwinnable game if the more button is always on. And I'm setting myself up
Agreed.
for this place.
And what's behind the reason that the more button exists? Why would you need more?
I would need more because I may have a belief system that tells me that more is the way. I know what less than feels like, and I don't want to feel that way. So I overcompensate and I do more, and I've caused my own challenge, maybe.
Okay. Which I agree is a great description and pattern recognition of the pattern, which I'm not surprised because that is, your job and that's what you're good at. But dive deeper. Why does anybody need more of anything? Like your logo is a cup. Why do you pour more into that cup?
Why do I need more? Hmm. I keep coming back to I need more because by having more, that might give me something of which I seek.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I'm seeking?
Perfect. So forget even you. If I have a container and I need to put more stuff in it, what isn't in the container? Why do I need to put more in?
I don't know. Maybe ask me again or ask me a different way. I'm hitting the wall.
Because there's not enough. The reason I fill a cup is just because there's not enough liquid inside.
Okay.
The reason I need more success is because there's not enough currently. The reason that I need to give more love is because there's not enough love to go around. The overarching linchpin in your whole story, in the whole push-pull, is I keep searching for more to fill the hole in my soul that was there early on in life. And now I'm at a stage in life where I've reached the threshold in the outer bounds of how much more I can possibly juggle. And it's starting to break at the seams.
Mm.
The fundamental wounding here. And you see how much prompting it takes. And that's why I'm saying it's a fundamental wounding. Ultimately, that we all have, but we're just exploring now what's present for you, right? There's so much resistance, so much protection, so much defense around that whole piece that your brain didn't even want to go there. It's blocking you from seemingly simple question of like, well, if I'm pouring more into something, what am I lacking? Nothing's ever enough. My love's not enough. My presence is not enough. The amount of money I make is not enough. My success isn't, like, nothing's ever enough. So I keep trying to fill it with more. And the more I keep filling, the more there's the next level. So what lands for you there?
What I want to say is that I am enough and that I have enough. And I'd like to realize that and believe that.
Yes. And I think logically, you know that's true. You can look around you right now and see evidence of that. This isn't a logical problem. This is an emotional problem. This is a deep-seated lens that's operating in the background 24/7 that's distorting everything that you see. So I know you understand you're enough. I know you understand you have a lot of love to give. Right? Even in how you answer one of the earlier questions, which is like, I have all these opportunities coming to me, and then I have trouble saying no with empathy. Even how I say no is not enough. Right? I have to justify how I say no. Right? And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's I know you know this logically. This is operating on a much deeper level, and it's painting and rippling out into a lot of areas of your life as you've uncovered and shared today. So what lands for you there?
I can tell you my heart's beating faster now, and I'm excited. And what excites me is I think back to it was a couple years ago now. I had a conversation with Jim Detmer. We were talking about emotional intelligence. He helped me do some exercises to really connect. Followed by, I did some breath work where I found myself crying like a baby. And it was a totally safe place to do it. And just uncontrollable sobbing and crying to let go of some emotion that had built up. And that began the emotional intelligence journey. And I feel what's coming up right now is that you have inspired, challenged, ignited, or whatever frame we might say, this need or this moral imperative to continue the journey of my emotional intelligence. Because I
Yeah,
feel that what I will keep uncovering will be a way to find enough, that I am enough. That's what I'm feeling. That's
beautiful.
what you've opened up for me today, Drasco, so far.
I love it because it is one of the number one things I work with a male clients, because generally we're told like suck it up and do the thing, and intelligent clients, like people that have excelled due to their ability to use their mind to solve problems, right? Like, not most, but literally 100%, at least the ones that I've worked with and seen, have exactly what you're describing right now. Empty success with a lacking, or rather lacking ability in comparison to their mental acumen, the emotional intelligence side. Right? If you rewind back this conversation, how many prompts did I need to give you to give me a simple answer of like, what do you feel right now? And even that, your final answer was incongruency, which isn't actually a feeling, but it was relevant enough for a thread to go down. That is at the core of I am enough. And your tendency to be the man with the hammer and solve all problems using your mind has worked really great up until this point, but you can't outthink an emotional problem. So for you, the next stage of your journey is not to outthink your way out of this. You're very good at doing that already. It's to develop the emotional capacity, the somatic and nervous system capacity to reveal, heal, and eliminate these old wounds that are seeping into, in your instance, internal conflict, lack of true fulfillment, inner peace, and all the other things you mentioned. So, what lands for you there?
More meditation, more openness and vulnerability to the process of finding out my emotional intelligence. If it's a scale, then I know that I've got a long way to go on it. And I know that I need help, but it's not something I can solve logically, like you said. Uh, that's the first thing that comes up. What I
Beautiful.
feel is I feel optimistic. I feel kind of excited right now because you've got me to go to a place that I don't go to every day with other people asking me. Normally, I'm on the other end of the mic asking these same questions and can help them get there. I feel right now that you've empowered me on my journey to get to that next place by simply asking a few questions. Uh, and I'm grateful for that.
You're very welcome. And again, I can only go as far as you're willing to go. So I also want to acknowledge you for allowing yourself to go there because there's a part of you that was ready to face those things. So I know we're kind of ending near time, but I just want to make sure as far as like, this conversation, does this feel complete for you or is there still something left outstanding?
I feel I feel complete with the conversation. It served the purpose that I expected it to serve, is to have a deep reflection and bring up stuff. And I feel that you've helped me get to that place, Drasco, and I appreciate for it, my friend.
Love it. You're very welcome. And then again, thank you for showing up in the way that you did. So why don't you then just summarize in your own words, what you kind of started this conversation with and what were your realizations at the end?
Well, I started the conversation in a place where I thought, well, let's look at the problems, let's look at the challenges, and I didn't really know if I had any real challenges. And logically, I don't feel I do. Emotionally, however, in the place that it takes some questions to get me into, and it takes some more questions to start to peel it back, I feel that that might be the place that I need to be spelunking and looking for the treasure. And that the logic place may be in a really strong one right now. Let's go to the emotional place. That's what's coming up for me right now is some inspiration to continue the journey and to go deeper on the emotional side of it.
Beautiful. Love it. So yeah, why don't you then just close us off and let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Thank you, Drasco. You can find me at the Eternal Optimist Podcast, eternaloptimistpodcast.com. We have a top 2% in the world podcast where we have a bunch of people come on that share their stories of hope, and you can do it too just by sharing their hardships and all the hard stuff they've been through. We air 1 or 2 episodes a week, and we are about to get to episode number 60 here shortly. So check me out there. You can also look it up on Instagram or Facebook, Eternal Optimist Podcast. And my name is Matt Drinkhahn. I'd love to help and heal anyone that I possibly can. So thank you for giving me the platform to share what I do or a little bit about where to find me. And thank you for helping me open up today. Definitely appreciate you, my friend, for that, Drasco. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And yeah, as always, we'll include that in the show notes. Yeah, and for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.